Hey everyone, it's the Brain in Nevada again. Hope you're all having a lovely day or evening wherever you are. So, the other day's video was sort of just to set the groundwork, introduce the problem of large influencers who go rogue and spread dangerous myths and disinformation. Tonight, we're going to take a more detailed look again at how the putrid true crime ghetto conspiracy theory sausage gets made and the common methods that all these bad actors always use. So, to take a page out of Mr. Upchurch's book, I think I'll title this Red Flag Ryan Upchurch. Because if you're thinking straight and have a functioning moral compass, everything about his absurdist claims really should raise red flags.
Are you fucking brain dead? Your IQ is too low to, I guess just regular think. I was going to say critical think, but regular think.
Okay, XanamayX, you were wrong.
Bitch.
We're gonna get this ironed out. Okay, Ryan,
You're not
relax,
gonna
my
fucking
friend.
sit here and lie on me.
Say,
we have to know. We have to.
Ryan,
we have to
yes.
pinpoint facts, dude. You can't be dragging shit out.
Ryan, you have said you know where Kiely is.
Why you? No, I didn't. I said I know who has her.
Exactly. Ryan, we both agree on this. Yeah.
Are you fucking stupid?
I love you, man.
That's somebody right there who knows where the little girl is. Dude, I'm the only person who's been figuring shit out before the cops go do it.
So before I get started, a bit of house cleaning after receiving some of the responses and insults. So my favorite insult to date, thus far, is that I sit to pee. Interesting. That guy seems to have a rather odd fetish and a strange interest in my urinary practices. I certainly hope he's not perving me right now as, well, I'm not wearing my skirt. So I also was insulted because I speak French, and a couple more languages, actually. I worked hard to learn those languages, which is just more typical anti-intellectual drivel. Apparently, living in Switzerland for 17 years and learning another language is a refutation of my arguments and character somehow. Yeah, I don't think I've actually ever shared where I lived. As I was there for 17 years, I lived in a few different villages, but my last place was maybe my favorite. It was called Coppet, which is about 20 minutes outside of Geneva, Switzerland, the big city. And so here are a few pictures. So this first picture is actually the little walk from my apartment to the little village that was about, 500 meters away. Not very far. It was just a short walk outside my front door and then through this long tunnel of trees, which then gave onto this gorgeous chateau. It was also only about 200 meters from my house. I actually went to a few business dinners, I think some Christmas dinners that were organized at the chateau. There's castles everywhere, of course, in Europe and certainly in Switzerland as well. And then just another 100 meters or so was my little village, and this is where I would go to get my baguette, the stereotype, going to get some good French bread. Even though I lived in Switzerland, I lived in the French section of Switzerland, so it's just a rock's throw from the French border. And in that canton, they mostly speak French. So this was the cute little village, had a couple of shops. It had a butcher shop and a little vegetable shop and a post office and a bank. And then here then is the view mostly from my balcony. So I had a nice big balcony that looked over Lake Geneva with the Mont Blanc, one of the big mountains outside of Geneva. And then here is a beautiful view from Cope, from that pier that you can see. And they're actually nice little cafes where you can sit outside on the lake. Absolutely adorable little village. So yeah, I lived there for, I think, about 5 years. So sometimes I regret having come back to the U.S. It was so civilized there, and it was gorgeous, but it was a little cold. So anyway, there's just a little brief showing of the little Swiss village I used to live in. And back to the show. And no surprise, as this is mostly an American audience, the omnipresent partisan war invariably popped its head up, and I was called a liberal, as if somehow that is also a refutation to my argument or a valid rebuttal to something. So to respond to that criticism, yes, I'm a lowercase liberal who cares about justice, the burden of proof, due process, civil liberties, and the rule of law, and respect for law enforcement authorities and expertise. And if you disagree with all that, what does that make you? Illiberal? Fascist? Authoritarian? Your call, bruh. So I also saw an awful lot of moral relativism, where the argument was essentially that the targets of those false accusations may also be to blame for something, or have also made mistakes, or spread misinformation. Now, as I don't know them or their work, I don't have to address these points really, as they are essentially irrelevant to the topic at hand. That is just another red herring fallacy. The claim is not that they are perfect people. The claim is against Upchurch and his unsupported and dangerous allegations. He either has the goods and can justify those allegations with sound reasoning and evidence, or he does not. And he does not. Everything else is something else. So if your argument is that somehow these targets are bad too, you're engaging in obvious moral relativism and effectively saying that what Upchurch has done is perfectly fine with you. And sorry, it's just not. I was also called the normal fare, like a fucking idiot and a moron, and I'm just clout chasing, yada, yada, yada. Those are also not arguments or rebuttals, bruh. That's ad hominem. And as I teach these sorts of things, and have been for a long time, let me explain for the umpteenth time. Ad hominem is not simply insulting someone. An ad hominem is an approach to debate and rhetoric where you insult or attack the person, which is what ad hominem means in Latin, to a man or person. You see, this is done in lieu of making substantive arguments or valid rebuttals. As long as you address the topic and the arguments, you can insult someone left, right, and center. Ad hominem is the difference between you're an idiot and therefore you're wrong, and you're wrong, this is why, and that makes you an idiot. So enough of all that, on with the show. But one more thing before we get started. I know all of you are guilty of murder and child trafficking. Now, I have no evidence of that. But if you defend Upchurch, you clearly want to live in a world where we should all just go about gratuitously accusing each other of crimes. And adding the child trafficking or pedo accusations, that really infuriates people. It's a bonus. Because you see, it turns off their ability to reason, and it makes them want to go postal. And that's sort of the problem here, and possibly their intent as well. In fact, I actually have incontrovertible evidence showing that Mike Dodge and Ryan Upchurch are guilty of Kiely Rodni's demise. They're clearly working together and are friends. And that would explain why they are constantly obsessing about this case, and they talk about it all the time. I mean, that is the only logical conclusion if I follow the logic of the Cornbread Terrorist. I mean, why are they so interested in this case? And, you know, it's obvious that they're trying to project onto other people what they're guilty of. I mean, all criminals do that. When they're guilty, they try to distract people from their own guilt, and they project it onto others, or they scapegoat other people to try to avoid prosecution and being accused of crimes. So, I mean, according to Upchurch, my logic is rock solid and bulletproof. Clearly, these people, Mike Dodge and Ryan Upchurch, know something and have something to do with her demise. And again, I have no evidence of that. I'm just simply using the same logic. So here's my case. I'll present it to you now. Sorry, hold on. I just need to check my notes. I'm not very good at this. Let me just wait. Let me figure out again how you do this. 1 second.
If you take their exact YouTube names and you use the letters, Ickedmel's comes out to CELMEKID, sell me kid. If you take XanamayX, exactly how it's spelled, it comes out to ax ya man. If you put both of those together, it says ask your man to sell me a kid.
Okay, after a short refresher course, I think I got this thing figured out now. Okay, so if I take all the letters from that name, that Mike Dodge guy, and I organize them just right, it spells me, dick, dog. And if I go and do that same damn thing with the name Ryan Upchurch, I gets me see her pie ranch. So answer me this. Why are these two going around and looking at women's pie ranches and dicking dogs? The answer is obvious if you're using that critical thing and got that common sense. I mean, the only logical conclusion here is that Mike and Ryan were perving this girl and doing sick things with dogs. They clearly are guilty of homicide and bestiality and misogyny. So I'm not saying that they murdered Toto or Kiely or anything. I'm just saying the most logical conclusion here is that these guys are both homicidal maniacs and they're clearly working together. What, you want some more? There's a lot more where that came from. I had some of my tweak squad out last night gathering information on the Google on these guys. Now, granted, they were pinning out of their minds and weren't likely all there, but they sent me this video of cars they were seen in the vicinity of this incident, and they have convinced me beyond a shadow of a doubt that you can see Mike and Ryan driving to the scene of the crime. And look closely now, it happens pretty quickly. And then there's this other video someone sent me which shows a picture of that cornbread guy. I mean, what's he holding in his hands there? Is that a baby? What the hell is he doing to that baby? And then I went and did some sleuthing on my own, and I found that upskirts guy has a whole bunch of sex diseases. I mean, look at this. I typed in Ryan and gonorrhea. I had to look it up like 5 times, figured out how to spell it. But look at that. Ryan and gonorrhea everywhere. There's Ryan again and gonorrhea again. And there's Ryan and syphilis. Ryan, he's got gonorrhea and syphilis. And keep going down. There's just pages and pages of stuff. Ryan and gonorrhea and syphilis. He looks like he got chlamydia too. I mean, this guy got everything. He's calling that other girl herp lip. I'm sure he got herpes too if I look hard enough. Anyway, I mean, these guys are bad news people. I'm just telling you. I'm not just whistling Dixie here. I got solid evidence, and I'm using the critical thinking stuff. And if you don't see it, I mean, everybody can see it, right? You all see the same thing that I'm seeing, right? I'm just saying that, these people need to be in jail, okay? And there it is. I went and said it. Now I'm done. Now I'm going to go get me some cornbread. Now, for the record, this is obvious satire, but I did want to show you what it looks like and how easy it is to fabricate spurious allegations and invent conspiracy theories if you're a bad actor and you have no moral compass. So I'm going to start off with my typical long-winded shtick, but then we'll get to some video evidence. So part of the problem being a critical thinking educator is that you have to contend with the complexity of changing a mind. And often minds are not necessarily flexible or very amenable to reason and evidence. I mean, let's face it. Most people have simply not learned critical thinking or formal logic for that matter. They haven't learned how to reason. They don't know what evidence is, and they don't know why we should value these things. They tend to value only their instincts and their feelings, placing a far greater emphasis on experience, anecdote, and tribal associations. And the research on this topic is unfortunately not very encouraging. Now, we do know that there are better and worse ways to help a mind change, but unfortunately, the odds of effecting that change in real time are low. Minds are more likely to change on their own over time, as opposed to simply changing in real time when presented with compelling contradictory evidence or reasoned arguments. Beliefs are complex things, my friends, and are intricately interwoven with our sense of personal identity, as well as our group identities and the tribes we affiliate ourselves with. So the best evidence to date suggests that the best way to change a mind is to employ a more Socratic, dialectic, and non-confrontational approach, at least statistically speaking. And in this approach, one acts more as a guide. They simply ask questions and allow our interlocutors to reason through a position on their own. Your job in that scenario would be to only get them to think through their position, methodically, step by step. And a good way to do this is to try to identify a similar topic, get them to reason through it, and then eventually substitute the actual topic you want to discuss so that they can notice the inconsistencies between one position and another on their own, and then possibly adjust to resolve the cognitive dissonance which is caused by noticing their own contradictions. This is also related to what is called steel manning as opposed to straw manning, a topic I've written on extensively over the years. But again, this implies, first of all, that all of us are somehow educated on this approach in the first place, and most of us are not. So in this context, I highly recommend a book by Peter Boghossian called Street Epistemology, which also closely mirrors my epistemic views and my teachings over the years as well. You might find it very interesting and useful. So what other ways can we influence people to change their mind, if not with evidence and reason? Well, look around you. What do most conversations on social media look like? They're not very pretty most of the time, huh? People try to bully and intimidate. They use bombast and a host of other rhetorical tricks and every form of logical fallacy to try to win a debate. And through sheer force of will, that's how they try to change a mind. But that approach is unlikely to produce consistently good outcomes or actually change many minds. But it will certainly impress some of the monkeys watching from the sidelines. And then there is ridicule and shaming. Now, believe it or not, there's plenty of research showing that social shunning, shaming, and ridicule can affect a mind and even make it change. And not only in human societies. You see, studies with other intelligent social animals suggest that social shunning to dissuade selfish or otherwise antisocial behavior can and does change behavior. As social animals, we long to belong. So when a group shuns an individual, that can very well make someone change in order to better fit in and be accepted. But unfortunately, there is also what is called the backfire effect, where challenging someone can result in them simply doubling down and reinforcing the belief even more. And shunning can also result in an individual simply turning inward or looking for another group which better shares his or her beliefs. How many times have you seen that happen? So as you can see, it's very complex to change a mind. But don't discount the value of ridicule and shaming. In my decade educating on social media, I've seen many a mind change in real time, and I've seen them change as a function of all sorts of various approaches, from a soft, non-confrontational, more dialectic approach, to developing trust over long periods of time with people, and yes, even as a result of knockdown, profane-laden insult fests. Believe it or not, I have many stories where an individual and I went at it like cats and dogs for hours. And in the end, we both learned something. We even changed our positions to some degree. And we thanked each other for the chat. We apologized for being a bit too nasty. In some cases, we became friends. And afterwards, it would have been easy to go enjoy some margaritas, some laughs, and Taco Tuesday together. So we don't have to hate each other, even if we fight, even if we mock each other, or even if we strongly disagree. Sadly, often the case is that arguments can sort of seal the deal in terms of any opportunity to better understand each other and or possibly become friends. So it's just rare that things go well once the gloves come off and the civility leaves the building. But as there is no reasonable expectation sometimes that we can get through to these people with reason, I choose ridicule and shaming sometimes. This is the Wild West, boys and girls. This is social media. After a decade of trying to facilitate and engage in rational and civil debate, it's often far too blunt of an instrument. So, criticize me as you will, ridicule it will be in certain cases, and this is one of them. So in that light then, this guy, this Ryan Upchurch, he really is one of the stupidest people on the internet. I mean, having to watch his incoherent rants nearly gave me an aneurysm. But as is the case with so many of these ghetto bad actors, you just have to be in awe of how much confidence some people have in their ignorance. They and their audiences clearly just do not see it, as if they're all in some sort of ritualistic trance, like in that Indiana Jones movie and the Temple of Doom, or whatever it was called. Clearly, confidence alone can magically create the illusion among the devoted and uncritical that confidence and arrogance is equal to strength, and strength, in turn, must be equal to credibility, and therefore, what one is saying can become accepted as truth simply by the mere presence of a cocksure attitude. But this guy, he's clearly got a little itsy-bitsy brain. He's clearly not a highly educated individual. And I'm not saying you need fancy formal diplomas to be smart. There are plenty of people that are not highly educated that are quite smart. And I can attest to the fact that plenty of people with lots of fancy paperwork and education are not very good critical thinkers. So it's not mutually exclusive. Either you must be educated in order to be a good critical thinker or make good arguments. And you see, the science strongly shows that ignorant people are just more prone to overestimating their intelligence, while smarter people are more inclined to recognize their own limitations and ignorance. And in some cases, more extreme cases, they even overestimate their ignorance, which is actually called the imposter syndrome. I tend to suffer from that disorder quite often. So even a superficial analysis of Upchurch strongly suggests that he's playing the game with one of those young Frankenstein abnormal brains. So, as I said, today we're going to take another look at how the putrid true crime ghetto sausage gets made. Now, in the past, I've discussed ad nauseum and exposed many of these same tactics employed by the worst sewer rats in the ghetto. But unfortunately, people don't seem to learn, and they continue to get duped by these charlatans over and over and over again. I even made a video where I discussed the common features of conspiracy theory ideation based on the science and the scientific research which studies the phenomenon. And again, today, Ryan Upchurch will be our case study. You can see that over the months, Upchurch has become an understudy, apparently, to the other true crime ghetto rats. And he has learned a new trade from them. And the evidence of that is that his tactics are identical. So what are these tactics? Well, I sort of put together a list of the common tactics that I see all the time with sophists, charlatans, gurus, cult leaders, social influencers, and just otherwise relatively irrational people. So one of the tactics is what we might call virtue signaling. Virtue signaling is a common play, and one which we saw used to great effect in the Summer Wells case. This is the tactic where you claim to be the only one who truly cares about missing persons. It's all about Shummer. It's all about a missing girl. Does that sound at all familiar to you? This is the typical appeal to emotion and appeal to morality fallacy. Everyone with a moral compass is saddened when an innocent person goes missing, and it pulls at our heartstrings even more when it's a child. And charlatans and opportunists know this all too well, and they play on that emotion, and they use it to satisfy their own interests. And they address and relieve the pain and suffering that we are all going through by pretending that they are the true champions of missing persons and the only ones moral and intelligent enough to solve the case. Actual moral and intelligent people don't tend to tell you that they're moral and intelligent. They tend to simply exemplify it through their words and behavior. So that's a red flag. You can see this in the rhetoric of Chris McDonough, Doug Hutton, Ernie Shell, Benny Keys, The Grifter, and a host of other true crime bad actors. They all use some version of the, it's all about a missing girl, I care, and only I have the moral integrity and means to find her. Throw me the super chats and I'll bring her home to her grieving family. Number 2, fear-mongering, otherwise known as demagoguery, one of the oldest tricks in the book. This is another well-known tactic of charlatans only interested in getting views and attention. Appeal to human fear. Human fear is primal and central to how our brains work and how our behavior is modulated. Exaggerate the incidence of crime and homicide and abduction and child trafficking. Make them believe that it is all around them all the time, and that they alone can spot these monsters who live and walk among us. Again, create the fear, and then relieve it by claiming that only you can spot and stop the bad men and the monsters under the bed. Demagoguery is an old, well-known trick. Convince people that there's a problem that they need to be afraid of, and then you come on your horse as the white knight who has the only cure to remedy their now discomfort and fear, which you have placed into them. Number 3, false pattern matching, or its technical term, apophenia, and its better-known cousin, pareidolia. Apophenia is our evolved pattern matching software, which served our ancestors quite well to identify patterns in the noise, to avoid predators and threats quickly, and to help us differentiate faces and quickly identify kin and friend from non-kin and enemy. But when pattern matching goes haywire and becomes overactive, the result can be anything from hallucinations, sensory misapprehensions, beliefs that strange noises and lights are aliens or ghosts, and all sorts of conspiracy theories. Every conspiracy theorist employs false pattern matching techniques where they confidently and loudly assert and then prime your brain to see what they see and to accept their assertions that there is a meaningful link between phenomenon A and phenomenon B, or person A and person B, They construct elaborate mind maps and sometimes even make graphics to show how one thing is somehow linked to another. I'm sure you've seen the boards with all the little post-it notes and all the little strings attached to all the little ideas, like a mental mind map. And people buy into these spurious links and tend to agree with the narrator, claiming that these things are all somehow interrelated, even if they're not. It's very compelling if you're not aware of false pattern matching problems and that you know the difference between correlation and causation. Many people today are smart enough to know the quip, correlation is not causation, but what they fail to actually recognize is that this is incorrect. The correct description is that correlation is not necessarily causation, but it may do. In fact, most of science is correlation because it's based on inductive reasoning. The issue is trying to determine, and the complexity is trying to determine whether the correlation is causative in nature or simply random. You see, patterns are everywhere. They're everywhere around us. But our tendency is to over-attribute meaning to random noise and disparate events, especially when it is self-serving or provides a simple answer to otherwise complex phenomena that you don't understand. It can also be an example of intellectual laziness. These phenomena are very well documented in the scientific literature, and I've even made videos discussing and presenting the evidence from research in evolutionary biology, group psychology, neuroscience, and elsewhere in science. Examples of false pattern matching and things like moral panics can be seen everywhere and across time. I've used the satanic panic of the 80s and QAnon today as notable examples. You also see all the features in the 9/11 truther movement. Those who fall prey to this psychological suggestion see patterns everywhere, even where there are none, and they believe them as firmly as you believe in gravity. They also engage in essentially logic backwards. So what they do, what many people do, is they already have a predetermined conclusion, and then they backfill and use confirmation bias to try to find selective arguments and cherry-pick pieces of information that then somehow support and buttress their preconceived conclusion. That's not how logic works. Logic is built up from the bottom up. You throw out the facts as so many puzzle pieces on the ground, and then you put them together, and then the conclusion begins to show itself like a puzzle, where once you have enough pieces, the conclusion becomes self-evident. If you're doing logic the other way around, where you begin with the conclusion and then look for things that support it, you're doing logic badly, and you're doing it the wrong way around. So, all of these tactics can be seen everywhere in Ryan Upchurch's bald assertions and whacked-out conspiracy theories. Number 5, another well-known tactic is called Gish Gallop. Gish Gallop is a fallacy and rhetorical tactic whereby you throw out as many spurious claims as possible, knowing or presuming that your interlocutor, your critics, will never be able to possibly chase down all of the claims and refute all of them. This tactic is effective because of the volume of the claims put out. The audience can get the impression that with all of these claims being thrown out there, it must be true. You can see this often in social media spamming with long copy pasta conspiracy theories, where the poster makes dozens of claims all at once, so that you would have to spend an inordinate amount of time tracking them all down and trying to refute them one after another. By the time you chase down a few and refute them all, it is likely that the conspiracy theorist has already created a dozen more, or convinced other people on the sidelines who simply went away while you were chasing down all of the claims. It is likely that the conspiracy theorist has already created a dozen more, so that you can never keep up. And this gives, again, this illusion that they have a wealth of positive evidence supporting their conspiracy theory. But if you did have the time to actually look at each of them in isolation, you'd find there's nothing here but hot air and simply volume. Another one of my favorites, number 6, is called, it's the old just asking questions quip, or jacking off for short. This is one of my favorite rhetorical and fallacious tactics that I see all the time on my science and philosophy forum. It's the, I'm just asking questions. It's the innocent appeal to feigned honesty, otherwise known as I said, jacking off, whereby someone continues to ask questions, suggesting some nefarious conspiracy or anomaly in hopes that the audience will consider them not only honest and innocently, sincerely asking questions, but not at all actually asserting their claims as true. The sophist here is actually being quite dishonest and asking leading questions to poison the well and to avoid his burden of proof to actually provide evidence for his insinuated positive claims. This is essentially the refusal or reversal of the burden of proof fallacy, hidden as feigned humility and curiosity. It's very dishonest, actually, and you'll see it everywhere if you keep an eye out for it. So number 7, another well-known tactic is simply the I have a right to an opinion quip, which often comes up when someone is confronted with evidence or arguments contradicting their assertions. This is a red herring fallacy, a straw man, and again, an overt refusal to assume their burden of proof responsibilities. No one is questioning whether or not someone has the right to an opinion. We take that as a given. What we're asking them to do is recognize that once they make a positive truth claim, especially in public, especially in front of a large, impressionable audience, they bear a responsibility to back up their claims. And if, when confronted with contradictory evidence, they simply cop out and claim that they have a right to an opinion, they've conceded. They've recognized that they don't have good arguments to support their position. They're trying simply to appeal to their right to free expression. That's not an argument in favor of anything except the right to free expression. And if we were talking about the right to free expression, then that might be a valid point. But when we're talking about something else, this is a red herring fallacy. And it's a refusal to bear and respect one's burden of proof. Number 8, another fallacious and dishonest tactic is what is called the appeal to no harm fallacy, or what's the harm defense. Over the years, we've spent countless hours presenting the evidence for all of the harm done by pseudoscience, superstition, and other factually incorrect claims. When it comes to the true crime ghetto making dangerous and false accusations, you can see my videos on AK Rocks, Jamie Wilson, Nomadic Trek, and even the Michael Crow case to see exactly what the harm is and can be. It's nothing short of possibly getting people killed or letting criminals walk away free. Number 9. Another simple and despicable approach is to simply accuse any of your critics of being guilty of heinous crimes. And you don't even have to assert it as fact. Often innuendo and insinuation will suffice to shed doubt on the credibility of your critic's arguments or character. And your cult might just run off and create additional rumors to help you discredit and defame them. This is truly despicable and dishonest, and again, you see it everywhere in the true crime ghetto, and you see it clearly in the conspiracy theories and behavior of the Cornbread Terrorist. Number 10, another common conspiracy theorist approach is to find little anomalies in pictures or scroll through suspect links on video, and to scroll these images and links very quickly so that nobody really has the time to investigate them. They're simply suggesting that there is something nefarious here, but they don't actually show you in detail how it is relevant or what the claim is. They just show you something and present it as if it's nefarious, and you're supposed to just swallow it whole and agree with whatever the claim this person is making. It's very, very dishonest, and you see it everywhere. As a matter of fact, some channels do nothing but that. They simply turn on their video cam, and then they just scroll through pages and say, see this, see that? It's a perfect example of false pattern matching and innuendo, and it's really, really dishonest because they oftentimes don't post the link. They don't, so that you can inspect it yourself, so you have no idea what it is or where it is, and you can't even inspect it yourself. A very common ploy in the true crime ghetto and elsewhere on YouTube. So again, this is simply showing a brief image or scrolling through some text on Google and asserting that there's something, that this is evidence of something. And again, it's very appealing and convincing for a lot of people. And oftentimes you're watching, simply sitting there saying, I'm sorry, what is that thing you're showing me? And how do I find that? And how is that linked to this conversation? How is this evidence of anything? And boom, the video moves on, and you're left simply needing to either trust the presenter and accept his claim, or be left not really understanding what has been shown or capable of refuting it. Because you didn't know what it was, and you don't know where to find it. Number 11, simply accusing or insinuating someone of being guilty suffices to set the dogs off. See my video on Jamie Wilson, for example. Number 12, and finally the easiest one of them all, simply use bravado. Once the opportunist has established the loyalty of a following, most of the work has already been done for them. From that point on, simply the look of confidence, their charisma, their bravado, their bluster, their bloviating, their screen cuts for effect, or even just yelling profanities and making more noise, can actually convince a lazy audience to accept any spurious claim as being true. Humans are mostly lazy thinkers, and they prefer to let others think for them. We really are mostly followers, people. We need more independent thinking. We need more critical thinkers. I hate the meme sheeple, but what we know about human nature is that we really are mostly sheeple. And opportunists and the ambitious intrinsically understand this about us, and they're more than happy to lead us off a cliff as long as it serves their interests.
Have I gone to bed? No, I haven't. Do I probably look like shit right now? Yes. But ever since I seen Kiely Rodni's mom crying on the news, I have laid down in bed every night thinking about this mom going to bed crying, wondering where her daughter is. And it seems some people think this is a big fucking joke. And a few of them, I'm staying on their ass for a reason. I'm seeing these true crime investigator people who are like, we're looking for Kiely. And they get on their fucking YouTube channel and don't talk about her at all or try to find out anything at all. They're doing it for views, man. They're doing it for money. They don't give a fuck about no missing kid.
So, if you'd like to see what virtue signaling looks like, here's a clip from Ryan Upchurch giving his version. You can see how he's appealing to emotion, appealing to morality, showing you how much he cares and how much he's disturbed by the grieving mother. But then he gives you some interesting insight into his intent. This guy is smart enough. I mean, it's like he just discovered that there was a true crime ghetto, something that most of us already know. I mean, heaven knows that's why I went to YouTube, was to expose the true crime ghetto. But as I said elsewhere, he's clearly become an understudy. So he's smart enough to criticize the true crime bad actors and realize that they're not doing anything to add any value or help find the missing girl. But what he doesn't have the self-awareness to recognize is that he will end up simply being the worst actor of all, exhibiting all of the same true crime bad actor methods, and effectively do nothing either to help in this missing persons case. And actually, it's far worse. Because of the size of his audience, he simply thinks that he can get up there and speculate out his glory hole, and that that's somehow a proxy for a far better example of what an actual legitimate true crime proponent should be doing. You don't know what you're talking about. You're not adding value. You didn't help find the little girl. All that you're doing is spewing out the same old YouTube true crime ghetto drama. and thinking your opinion is worth a hill of beans, and it's not.
Are you fucking brain dead? Your IQ is too low to, I guess just regular think. I was gonna say critical think, but regular think. He's the first person who talked to somebody that says they know two specific people that were there, that followed the little girl around watching her every fucking move. That's the significance. If you cannot understand that, I can't help you.
This is another example of where the Cornbread Terrorist exemplifies just horrific logic and doesn't understand anything. Simply because someone talked to somebody is not evidence of anything. This person, and you're using just hyperbole and exaggeration, someone simply referred to having witnessed someone at a party. That's not evidence of anything. But you've continued to insinuate that it's somehow evidence of some nefarious plot or some sort of immoral or illegal behavior. And you've provided no evidence to show that any of that is true. You're simply whistling Dixie out your backside.
The Ronnie guy on Ickedmel's show, the first time, said his cousins were there. He talked on the phone to Ickedmel like he was actually there. Then what does the Ronnie character do after he gets off Ickedmel's show? He goes to the place where everyone is searching for the little girl. Where are your cousins that were at the party? Why are they not with you to go search for the little girl? Why does the Ronnie guy keep calling in the show to the Ickedmel guy and not the cousins? At this point, I was like, okay, well, Ickedmel and the Ronnie guy have to know each other. Why are they acting like they don't know each other? So then when I press, who is Ronnie? He starts freaking out. The Ickedmel dude starts freaking out. So at that moment, I said, well, I don't think Ronnie's real. So then Ickedmel has to prove he's real.
So here's another example of just horrific logic and presumption. Mr. Upchurch, no one needs to prove that they're real. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody needs to tell you why their cousins are not making a presence. They don't owe you any of that. You have the burden of proof if you think that this has anything to do with the missing girl case. And you've provided no evidence whatsoever. You're simply making shit up, speaking in a spooky voice as if you've identified some sort of clue. You've shown that this has no relevance in any way, but yet you will continue to double and triple and quadruple down and ultimately accuse all of these people of being murderers, of being in a pedophile ring. I mean, you are the most immoral, idiotic, and dangerous individual in the true crime ghetto.
Are you fucking brain dead? Which would be what? Him going on a live feed with him. That's why when he said, okay, fine, I'm gonna go live with Ronnie, I got on my stuff and I said, hey everyone, he's not gonna go live with Ronnie. He can't go live with Ronnie. He's already fucked up too many times. Tomorrow, he's not gonna go live with Ronnie.
And here's Ronnie. And even brought his legs with him. Let's see if Ronnie has any rational explanation for this incredibly bizarre behavior that Upchurch has seen. And let's see just how guilty he looks of being a murderer or involved somehow in child trafficking.
The same person that was there before they ran you off the internet.
Oh yeah, same person that they ran off and tried to say, "Oh yeah." So what? Hold on. Yeah. Yo. White legs. Been doing this for 7 years and all that. All that nonsense. It's crazy.
So how have you been, man? Can you just tell me like how's this shit? How's it affect you? And let's get into like whatever you can say. I know certain things you can't maybe talk about, but
yeah,
how's this affected you,
bro? It's been completely crazy because it was like it started off as like a regular conversation, and even then, even if there's controversy behind that, whether you're like, oh, he knows too much and all that, but I tried to explain based off my experience, what I've experienced in my life, and other people from different states are going to take it differently and all that, and then try to apply their own meaning behind what I'm saying. And after everything that's happened, dude, it's been utterly insane with like people just like saying threats, saying they're gonna find out where I live, yelling Creek Squad. I don't know. Creek Squad.
The Creek Squad. Creek Squad.
Creek Squad. And I'm like, bro, like, and that's the thing is people were saying like, well, why do you delete his profile? I was like, why would I not? I have my kids on there who they also claim don't exist. I don't have any kids, but they also said I'm white. So
right.
I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. And they're making all these crazy threats and accusations. And the best thing I could do was just get off, because I was like, there's no winning that battle. There's no winning. There's no winning that battle. They have their mind made up. And they want to say, oh, if you're not guilty, why don't you throw your cousin's name? I was like, yeah, let me throw my family in there so you guys can go harass them and go out, park outside their house when you thought you were outside my house. Right. And what's crazy is that he said, oh, I ran his phone number and this is what came up and all that. And
do you know this guy? Do you know this guy? He's claiming like, oh, that Miro and you guys know each other, and like.
Okay, well, here's the thing, because I can actually say it now, because I actually, I'm not getting cut off. I'm not getting.
And be careful. Be careful with your background too, because I don't want people seeing too much.
Oh yeah,
yeah, like
so,
that.
Yeah, I got you. So I can actually speak for myself off that Miro thing, because I'm not going to get interrupted. I'm not going to get yelled at for no reason and create no false narrative.
Yeah, so super disrespectful. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So this is exactly what happened. I got friend requested by Miro, the dude who was in Ryan's video. Mm-hmm. I thought he came from your channel and he was sending support as well as others. And I was like, okay, that's cool and whatnot. I then saw Ryan's video where he showed the Miro guy, and the Miro guy was messaging him saying, hey, I'm on Ronnie's profile. I see his pictures. I see this and that. And I was like, holy, wait, this dude is like snaking on my profile to get information. But Ryan thought he was sketch. He was still sketch about that dude. So I was like, okay, let me go to my friends, and I found him and I deleted him. But then I was like, you know what? This is a chance to get heat off of me. So I put his name in the bio,
and it worked,
because Ryan was already fishy of him, and I'm not going to say it because he's going to get pissed, because if I start talking shit to him, he went ahead and was like, oh, look, it's a conspiracy. I was like, bro, you really are dumb. Like, you really are dumb, dude. I'm sorry. Like,
I think there's something wrong with him, because he went from that guy to you to that guy to this other YouTuber to me, and like all these different people, and like calling him.
Like, and I appreciate that lady. I think her name's like XanamayX or something. Like, she was defending me. Right. She's saying, dude, he has a family on. He's like, no, do you not see his legs? His legs are white. I've been doing this for 7 years. You don't know what you're talking about. I was like, bro, you really are dumb. And I was thinking, he's like, why isn't he showing his face? I was like, bro, I don't owe you anything.
Right.
The only reason why I even show my face now is because I have a lot of respect for you. The point is that this has gone way too freaking far.
It's gone too far. Yeah.
It's gone too far. This dude is trying to like get things done to me, and like
wasn't he calling you a drug dealer and stuff, and like and what about the car? You know what the car? What I realized, because he showed some listing of some car, your car or one of your cars, and what I was told about that is that like when a car is being listed or something, it does by multiple dealerships and they just post it multiple times, but it wasn't like sold hundreds of times or whatever.
No, that's because he doesn't know what he's talking about. And that what's crazy is I've had this Challenger for, I'd say, close to 8 to 9 months, maybe a little longer, whatever. So all the listings he was seeing was, of course, from dealerships posting the listings. It had nothing else to do with being sold multiple times. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Are you fucking brain dead?
He's going on a press tour, and it's not like he's just doing it on his channel, but he's going on all these other channels too, and just constantly like mentioning your name and all this stuff. And I get, people could disagree, they could have opinions, whatever, but like, the problem is like taking it to the next level where these people are looking for you, search, and it's not just you. Like, I've had people in my chat tell me, yo, people are putting my name now, people are DMing me, people are like all this kind of harassment stuff that's going on, and it's like, yo, this guy's just taking it way too far.
I don't want to have a conversation with him. I don't need to have a conversation with him. He wants to spread misinformation. Like, there's nothing to talk about, bro. Like, there's no type of level ground that we can go to, especially when he's going to go to these type of lengths. You're not speaking with a reasonable person. You're not. He just wants to look at it as like, if I say, oh, I've been in this area for 20 years and I've partied this amount of times, I've done this, he'll look like, oh yeah, so you know a lot about that situation. So you must have been the supplier there. You must have dealt with those people. You must have dealt with all these young people and you running around. And that's his narrative. He creates all these narratives and a lot of these people run with it, which is sad.
It's crazy. I've never seen something like this before. Like, people just running with it and just taking it as a fact. Is it really? Were you really getting threats and like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is I was really getting threats, and of course, but I guess threats aren't really a big deal. You know, to some people, threats aren't really a big deal. But yeah, we were getting threats, and people were saying outlandish things that shouldn't be said. And my biggest priority at the end of the day is to protect my family.
What about the 16-year-old girl?
Gosh, where have we heard this trope a million times before? It's about a missing little girl. It's all about Shummer.
Do you realize this lady that's friends with Ickedmel that has the bump on her lip? Do you realize that she was in Truckee, California? It's on her YouTube. She just posted it the other day. Do you also realize that this lady that is friends with Ickedmel said on the podcast yesterday she has videos of this party that was right beside the party Kiely was at? I know for a fact that there was at least one party out there because, well, okay, so I have a video. I do have a video of this beautiful Hispanic party that was like right next to the site. Hello. She has a video of the party right next to the site. But did you notice at her video in Truckee that there was a dog with her? What did the cops come out and say they revealed that they were investigating? A buried dog. There's still a 16-year-old girl missing, dude. And here's the question I got for you. Where is Kiely Rodni? One of y'all know. And for everybody out there that is getting on YouTube right now that's a true crime person, that is acting like a fucking buffoon, saying that my conspiracy theory is way out there, what I told you just now is the most logical explanation of what could have possibly happened. Anybody watching this video with common sense knows that. So herpy lip, Ronnie, Ickedmel, ball's in your court, dude. You can't bullshit me. I can stay awake longer than you, and I can do more than you. I'm gonna stay on your ass like a fucking drill sergeant. Call the cops on me then. Do it. I dare you. You can't call the cops. And you know you can't call the cops.
So there it is, folks. That's his first video where he puts together his extremely profound and critical analysis of the Kiely Rodni case. And his immense brain, his capacity to just glean truth from YouTube comments and people he meets on the internet, suggests to him that there's a great conspiracy going on here, and he knows exactly what happened to Kiely Rodni, and he knows who is responsible for her death. He knows that there's a Ronnie guy who talked about some cousins who have never shown up, but they apparently saw her at a party. And then there's a Ickedmel guy who's got a channel, and this same guy has called in before on his channel. And then there's this Ukrainian girl who is defending Ronnie's existence and defending the fact that he's real and he has a family. This is clearly just a rock-solid, bulletproof case. Evidence that this little cornbread boy from Tennessee, this country rock star rapper who likes to shoot up paintings with his AR-15 as publicity stunts, has figured out what none of the official law enforcement authorities can figure out. He just knows it. He feels it. And he thinks that anyone with common sense who's a critical thinker must agree with him. because he sees all these interesting patterns and these anomalous behaviors. And so he's about as certain as anyone can be that he knows the murderers of Kiely Rodni. Only none of his arguments hold up under any sort of rational scrutiny. None of this is anything more than just the typical true crime ghetto drama. It's speculation, it's opinion, it's conspiracy theory, and it's far from logical or based on anything that somebody would say is rational. So that's his argument, ladies and gentlemen. Now, does he have any actual evidence that these people have anything to do with the potential crime? Does he even know that a crime has been committed? Is there any suggestion from the police that they're questioning these people, that they're treating them as persons of interest? Anything? Anywhere? No. We got a guy with a baseball hat and a silly accent who can't conjugate verbs, stays up all night, thinks he's a tough guy, thinks he can stay awake and outlast everyone, and that he's doing all of this because of his deep concern for a missing girl, because everyone else thinks that this is a joke. Only Ryan Upchurch, with his 3 million rabid groupies, can figure out the disappearance of Kiely Rodni, except that her body and car has just been found, therefore no longer rendering it an abduction case. And while it's possible that there's still foul play, there's certainly no indication of any foul play. There's certainly no indication that any of the rubbish that he's spewed has anything to do with reality. The most logical answer at this point is just another tragedy of a teen under the influence of alcohol and drugs, got behind the wheel of a car, and probably drove into the lake and drowned. And it's tragic, and it's horrible. But Occam's razor suggests that there is no foul play, at least unless and until there's evidence to the contrary. And there's certainly no reason to think that this dipshit and his absurd conspiracy theory, which is reminiscent of all of the other true crime ghetto conspiracy theorist methods, should be taken seriously. So that's all he's got, ladies and gentlemen. Now, he will double and triple down, and there's a million other additional claims, and he will bring in a bunch of other additional rubbish to try to buttress his absurdity, because he's not a big enough man to actually admit he's wrong, because he now has a huge head, and he would have egg all over his face if at this point he would have to admit that he was wrong. So, as I said, this falls into line with all of the other true crime ghetto drama. He's using all of the same methods, the same conspiracy theory tactics that everyone else uses. There's nothing novel here. There's nothing interesting. It's as vanilla as every other true crime ghetto bad actor channel. So that's about it, and we'll just carry on and see how much of a bigger fool he can make out of himself. So now let's move over to a panel on the All-American Dream Chaser channel, moderated by Tony Dodge. Now let's see if this guy looks like an objective intermediary when he's confronted with a bit of an interpersonal conflict between XanamayX and Ryan Upchurch. Ryan Upchurch, a lunatic with 3 million groupie followers, against a young Ukrainian lady speaking in her non-native tongue, and a relatively small and inexperienced channel. Let's see how Tony handles this and see if he looks objective in any way.
Why did you just lie and say that I said you killed your dog? That's a lie.
All right.
No, that's
You're already lying. Why are you already lying?
Please do explain.
I'll let you handle this, Xana.
I said you killed your dog. Why are you lying?
Your community has been attacking me.
All right,
and your community is deriving your...
lying?
I'm
Why
not
are you lying?
Why
are you lying saying I killed your dog? Or you killed your dog? Why?
Go ahead and answer it, XanamayX. You're saying you said... Go ahead.
I
No, go
said,
ahead and answer,
I said
Jeremy.
your community
Nope, that ain't what you said. Nope, you're lying. can't be this
mentioned
stupid.
that Ryan said that XanamayX killed and buried her dog at the campground.
Why are you lying? There's no video of that being said. You are putting false information on Tony Dodge's page.
Okay, I can't make heads or tails of this dispute at this point, but I'm going to go back and look at Ryan Upchurch's videos and see if, I mean, he ever said anything about her related to some dog, and just find out if she's truly lying. I mean, and it looks like maybe he claimed that Ryan himself actually explicitly said she killed her dog, or it's not clear. It looks more like she's saying that his followers have accused her of killing her dog. So I'm just trying to get to the bottom of this. I mean, if she did indeed at some point say he specifically said that, then I mean I agree she should clarify it. Although she does seem to clarify it, so I suppose if she's guilty of anything, she needs to simply say, yes, I didn't actually hear him say it, but I have been receiving comments from his followers suggesting that I have indeed killed my dog. So I just want to take a look and see if there's any reason for her to believe that he might have suggested that to his audience, or if there might be any good reason to believe that what she's saying is truthful, that his followers are actually accusing her of a heinous crime. Let me take a look.
But did you notice at her video in Truckee that there was a dog with her? What did the cops come out and say they revealed that they were investigating? A buried dog.
Gosh, look what I found. I mean, I don't know about you, but that looks like a pretty clear insinuation that she killed her dog. I mean, doesn't it look like that to you? And I mean, is there any evidence that her dog is dead, or that again that has anything to do with the Kiely Rodni case? I mean, I'm just not seeing it, and so it seems perfectly rational and logical that his loyal groupies might have gone after her after their leader suggested she was a dog murderer. So I'm not sensing that she's a liar, and it seems like she's qualified, that she said simply that she received comments from his followers. But he seems awful belligerent, doesn't he?
You have no content. You're a fucking nobody. Why are you here lying for the other people?
I'm being extremely respectful to you right now. Why are you yelling at me?
It's not about respect. It's about finding a little girl, dude.
Oh, of course. Of course, it's about finding a little girl.
Tony, are you serious, bro?
Ryan,
are you letting everybody here see that you have this much not common sense?
Right. Yeah.
Are you fucking stupid?
Hey, hold on, Ryan. I get it, man. I respect you. I love you. I know you're very passionate. Hey, I respect you for that. It's okay.
I know I
love you. I respect you.
Why can't one person answer one question?
I love you, man.
So you might find that she has actually answered the question already. And if you watch the entire clip, you'll note that she actually continues to repeat the exact same answer over and over and over again, while just getting lambasted by a lunatic, a profane lunatic, misogynistic lunatic, calling her a nobody and a liar and a bitch. And this Mike seems to be taking the side of Ryan and never once defending her or suggesting to Ryan that maybe he should soften his tone a little bit and maybe she's not actually a liar. And, you know, calling her a nobody and all of these rancid insults. I mean, is that really necessary? But it seems that Mike has lost control, and I'm just wondering why.
All right, let's let her answer this. Okay, XanamayX, what's going on? Did he say this or not? Just let's get to it. All right.
There are quite a few comments. I did not actually hear him say this.
Okay, so
but
you
there
have
are
to
a
admit
lot of
that you're
comments.
wrong. Okay, XanamayX, you're wrong. Bitch. You just have to admit that he didn't say that. You said he said it. He didn't say it. You got to admit that you're wrong, XanamayX.
But did you notice at her video in Truckee that there was a dog with her? What did the cops come out and say they revealed that they were investigating? A buried dog.
His community
It-
said,
it's him.
Ryan said, I will find the comments.
Okay.
Said, Ryan said that XanamayX buried her dog at the campground.
Okay.
Lies.
We're gonna get this ironed out. Okay, Ryan,
You're not
relax,
gonna
my
fucking sit
friend.
here and lie on me.
But did you notice at her video in Truckee that there was a dog with her? What did the cops come out and say they revealed that they were investigating? A buried dog.
Well, she's admitting okay. We're gonna get this straightened out. XanamayX, if you're wrong, just admit it, please. Admit that you're wrong.
I am not wrong.
Then show the video.
But did you notice at her video in Truckee that there was a dog with her? What did the cops come out and say they revealed that they were investigating? A buried dog.
The narrative your community is driving that Ryan has said that XanamayX has killed her dog and buried it in a campground.
You're a liar.
Okay.
Where's the video?
But did you notice at her video in Truckee that there was a dog with her? What did the cops come out and say they revealed that they were investigating? A buried dog.
That's hearsay. That's XanamayX. That's hearsay. You can't come on here and say something that's not true, XanamayX. You can't do that. You can't do that to him. You can't say that.
Well, we have to know. We have to pinpoint facts, dude. You can't be dragging shit out. Where's
Ryan,
she
I
from?
love you, man. Ryan.
She has no content. It's common sense, dude.
No.
The only video she has is talking about fucking Ukraine and being in Truckee. Are you fucking serious?
Right. I get it. You can't. Okay, listen, XanamayX. I know you're from the Ukraine. You got to understand. I know you're smart. You can't come on here and say that he said it unless you actually have proof. What you're saying is somebody else said that he said it. That'd be like somebody saying to me that, Ryan said something about me, and I go up here and say, well, Ryan said this about me, but I have no proof other than that somebody else had told me that. That's called hearsay. Exactly. Ryan, we both agree on this.
Dude, I'm the only person who's been figuring shit out before the cops go do it.
I don't know about you guys, but anybody getting sort of a fanboy vibe from this Mike guy? He's not looking like a actual objective moderator here. Looking a little biased. I mean, awful lot of bromance going on there, and you have to wonder if maybe he's just so honored that Ryan Upchurch is in his room with, his 3 million followers. And so to hell with this, unknown anonymous Ukrainian chick. I mean, let her rot. She can defend herself. I don't know. I'm sensing that, Mike and Ryan might be buddies. I'm wondering if they're complicit and if they have anything to do with this whole Kiely Rodni case. I'm just saying. So if you watch that whole clip, it's pretty much like that the entire time. A lot of bootlicking from Mike, the same accusations and defamation out of the cornbread boy, and XanamayX doing the best she can to try to remain respectful and make her case, but it's pretty ugly and vicious, and certainly not a civil conversation. So let's see. I mean, maybe once she was actually recovered, maybe Ryan had a change of thought. Maybe he recognized that maybe he'd been a bit rash, and maybe discovering her body, would change his point of view. Then maybe he would come to his senses. Let's see how that goes.
What is up, skins? How y'all doing today? First thing I want to say is I want all 2.9 million of my followers to go to Adventures with a Purpose and click follow. Second thing, yes, I am getting the Hellcat prepared to give to them. They are the ones who found her. I put the Hellcat up to whoever had information that led to her. No one had any. They're the ones that found her. They're the ones that are getting the Hellcat. Reason being, I'm a man of my word. I like to stick to my word. I think that you should set a good example for people watching your channel to keep your word, because a lot of people don't keep their words these days. All right, now let's talk about some shit. You mean to tell me they scaled the whole damn place with sonar and all this shit, and AWP pulls in and finds the car in like 20 minutes? What the fuck? I seen a quote put out by the New York Post today from one of the team members from AWP, and it's kind of bone-chilling. Look at this. Josh Cantu, a spokesman for the diving group Adventures with Purpose, told the New York Post, "Police told us they did a rigorous search of the body of water. They gave us a grid map and made us confident we did not need to search there." Within minutes from the diving team entering the water, however, the car and body were found.
This is a perfect opportunity to get to see exactly how the putrid true crime sausage conspiracy theories get fabricated. Cornbread boy here, he done thinks he has evidence of a cover-up because his little noggin doesn't know what a false dichotomy is, and he can't possibly imagine that there could be any more rational explanation than a police cover-up or some foul play shenanigans. There is, however, at least one more option that my brain can come up with. How about Hanlon's razor? The idea that we should never attribute malice to incompetence or stupidity? I'm going to go with the police messed up and made a mistake because they just don't possess the same level of expertise in sonar reading and underwater recovery as AWP. I mean, do you have any evidence of a police cover-up? Is there any evidence even that a crime occurred here, or that perps manipulated the vehicle? No, you don't. But that won't stop you from tripling down and continuing with your inane, incoherent nonsense. Let's listen in, shall we?
Well, if you ask me, there's only two ways that could have happened. One, it was purposely overlooked and orchestrated by the police that worked there. Or two, somebody somehow snuck this shiny silver car that everyone's looking for back there and got it in the water like 4 or 5 days ago. Those are the only two logical explanations. You tell me which one you think it is. Now, I know what some people are wanting to say. They're wanting to say, see, you were wrong. It definitely wasn't Herpy Bump Lady, Rynie Jones, and Ickedmel. Nope, it's actually more them now. It's even more them now. The further we go, the further it leads directly to them. Do you want to know why? Well, you got Ickedmel covering for Rynie Jones. You got Herpy Bump Lady covering for Rynie Jones. And Herpy Bump Lady is definitely more guilty now. Remember the other day when I was like, look, she's at Prosser Lake 5 days ago, covering her tracks, kayaking over this little girl's car.
Like Bosser, here we come.
So allow me again to intervene before I allow Mr. Upchurch to continue spewing rubbish. When I first heard his argument that he thinks it's a gotcha that this girl made a video going to Truckee and taking a kayak ride with her cute little doggy and suggesting that this is evidence not only that she's a murderer and obviously a dog murderer as well, but that this is also to cover her tracks, if I understood correctly, find out if there was anything that needed to be covered up before the police arrived, and to create an alibi for herself. Now, I find that just laughable in the context of this is clearly a young lady that's trying to create a social media presence. She's taken an interest in this case, and she's just another one of the million social media influencers who get in their car and drive to the site of a big viral event, hoping to maybe get some views and some attention to her channel, and have a cute little moment riding her kayak on the water with her dog. To suggest that this is somehow nefarious or evidence of anything is completely absurd. By that logic, Molly Golightly, who you apparently went on her panel with, must be guilty of Summer Wells. She went down to Tennessee to hang out in front of the wells and make a lot of noise for some social media cred, the old boots on the ground play, and to spread more of her nonsense because she's one of the most infamous bad actors in the true crime ghetto. So I'm not surprised that you went and hung out with her. Anyway, this is just laughable.
Now, a long time ago, an old man at Co-op told me something, and I've always lived by this every time I need it. If it looks like a zebra and walks like a zebra, most of the time, it's a motherfucking zebra. That's not exactly how I said it, but you know. So I'm on this podcast with her, and everybody's trying to lick her sweaty, fat, fucking Ukrainian asshole. I knew she was full of shit, so I called her out. And her ass got pissed because she's guilty.
Sorry, excuse another rude interruption. I would just like to sort of play this game for a second at a level that Mr. Upchurch would understand. You're a fucking misogynistic redneck moron pig.
Cuz, bitch, you were in Truckee.
And the day that I told everybody, look, you guys, she's there in the canoe checking to see if the car is visible and covering her tracks. What does she do? Deletes the whole entire video off of her channel.
Gosh, I wonder if that could be like with the case of Rynie, where he deleted his profile. Maybe she deleted the video because she was a bit worried about your 3 million rabid cult followers, your freak squad, continuing to harass, threaten, and bully her and accuse her of being a murderer. Gosh, maybe that's the most logical explanation. But I'm sure it's because she's covering tracks, because clearly deleting a video on YouTube is going to be evidence of committing a murder, or somehow going to exonerate you, as if there's not a public record of that, as you're at least smart enough to know. But that's not evidence of anything. That is evidence of someone deleting a video.
She blocked me so I couldn't show you guys, so I guess she don't know that people have, you know, other fucking computers and shit. Anyways, here it is. It is absolutely gone off her channel. It does not exist anymore. Why would she delete it if she wasn't guilty? Oh, that's right, because she's fucking guilty. Her fat Ukrainian ass is fucking guilty. Remember she said she had this video, this beautiful party or whatever? She never posted it. You know why? Because she couldn't. Her fucking dumbass brain couldn't figure it out. So I guess she was like, well, maybe everyone will forget that I said I seen the party that Kiely was at. I just won't even post that video. I'm going to go act like I'm looking for things now. Look at me looking for things. Fuck you, bitch.
Exactly. Look at little Ryan looking for things. Fuck you, bitch.
You were covering your fucking tracks. Everyone knows it. Not only that, hey, dumbass, look at the books on your desk. Yeah, never trust a fat Ukrainian bitch with Xanax in her name that has books about weapons of mass destruction, counseling, and practical homicide investigations.
Ruh-roh, Cornbread Boy has been a bit triggered by seeing some books. I mean, what a shocker. A girl who's seemingly taking some interest in the true crime space has a book on criminal investigation. I mean, I wish more of the true crime ghetto would actually read some books. Might help them not be such hacks. Also, Muffinhead, do you ever think that maybe she has a book on weapons of mass destruction because her country of birth is currently at war and that they have been invaded by a nuclear power, actually the country that has the most nuclear weapons on the planet? Is your tiny brain completely incapable of understanding something like that?
Now, before one of you little weirdos that follows these people that wax off the anime probably comes over here and is like, see, it couldn't have been XanamayX. It couldn't have been. It was definitely the cops. Well, yeah, somebody in fucking law enforcement has a doing in this probably, since, you know, no one found the fucking car. And then the cops tell them, hey, here's a list of everywhere to look. Don't look here where it's probably gonna be. And AWP comes up and is like, hey guys, look, there's the car. Well, I hate to break it to you little freaks out there that are like, she's innocent. Ickedmel's innocent. Ronnie Jones is innocent. Shut the fuck up. Who are you? Are you the people that buy these weird videos from them? Oh, and by the way, I found a video of a random person trying to look up stuff about her and accidentally found this fucking weird dark web portal that involves a bunch of weirdo shit.
I look up, there's this girl, XanamayX. She was at the Kiely Rodni party. She's a YouTube. All I did was put XanamayX because I was wondering who she was. YouTube. And look at what also comes up on her search. Little Dark Web Child. CP on YouTube. YouTube Kids. I'll say I'm Dark Web. Child Candy Palace Dark Web. Deep Web. Underground Child Model Portals.
Couple of interesting things here you might note that I refer to them in terms of how the conspiracy theory sausage gets made by these bad actors. but you notice he does that video cut where he zooms in on his face. He uses this as a rhetorical device to essentially use those zooms as sort of gotcha moments. And then it would be interesting to see what Tony has to say about hearsay here, because he said that hearsay was not really admissible, and yet here is Mr. Upchurch probably seemingly taking some random video clip from probably one of his fans, again doing that scrolling technique where you quickly show some scrolling on Google, and then you link this to that, and you refer to the dark web, and then you refer to child sacrifices and pedophilia and things like that. This is straight out of Enchanted Life Path's playbook. It's straight Chris McDonough in the Nomadic Trek case. These are the tried and true methods of how to create a conspiracy theory and plant the seed into your gullible followers that there's some sort of elaborate plot, and these people are blood-sucking, pedophilia ring, QAnon Illuminati. I mean, this is so typical and so transparent. Anyone that thinks that this is evidence of anything, or that these are actually arguments in support of his absurd conspiracy theories, really needs to get their head checked. This guy is a moron. Every piece of his logic is moronic, illogical, irrational. He doesn't know what the burden of proof means. He doesn't understand what an evidentiary standard is. None of this holds up in a court of law. And I bet if you could call the police right now and ask them if they're actually looking into these people, treating them as persons of interest, question these people, or that there even is an open investigation into potential wrongdoing in this case, I'd bet you'll find that there isn't. And again, Occam's razor applies, and this is simply a poor, tragic young lady who mistakenly got behind the wheel of her car late night on probably alcohol and potentially even harder drugs, and wound up dead, unfortunately. And this guy, still doubling down, trying to save face in front of his 3 million sycophants and groupies, thinks that this is compelling evidence of criminal wrongdoing. So, I mean, he's just so transparently ignorant. I mean, this guy is really a fucking moron.
What's up, it's Cinema Shogun here, and guys, this is just getting totally out of control at this point. You know, I like a good laugh, and I like laughing at people who make an ass out of themselves online, but now Ryan Upchurch is still at it. As Kiely Rodni's body and her car was being pulled out of a lake, Ryan Upchurch was on some random woman's live stream spreading lies about the case and spreading lies about how she was being found. And yes, I brought the receipts. Yes, I recorded it all. Let's just go ahead and have a look. And oh yeah, let's just take a look at the moment that Ryan Upchurch gets caught in all of his lies and realizes that all of his BS has now come to light.
All right. The other guy, they're calling him Ronnie Jones. His name is Melvin Cedino. They've swapped it to confuse you.
So what Ickedmel? Yeah, so Ickedmel. I'm still confused where Ickedmel comes into play then.
Yeah. What do you think is the end? Like, Ryan, do you think is the reason this was done? Like, for misinformation?
If you look at it as what it actually is and what we can see, no theories, no bullcrap, just only what we can see that we know is real. You have a guy named Ickedmel who is covering a missing girl case of a girl named Kiely. The Ronnie Jones called into Ickedmel's station as someone he does not know. All right? They're calling that dude Ronnie Jones. The house that goes to Ickedmel is under Ronnie Jones. Ickedmel is calling that guy Ronnie Jones. That guy's name is Melvin Cedino. They had to know each other. He's putting himself in the position of seeing these cousins at this party. Why is this the first time we're hearing of Ronnie Jones? Why is he acting like he doesn't know him when they literally have swapped names?
Ryan, can I interrupt you?
Yes.
Chat is saying that they have found Kylie's car and they found Kylie.
Google that?
Yeah, I've Googled. I don't see
I'm
anything
Googling,
yet.
yeah.
I hope the hell they
Dude, that's
did.
Me
crazy.
too.
Somebody,
She's been found.
AWP found him in the water under 14 feet of water.
I knew
where? Which
AWP.
Wait, is that
water?
true? Like, is that in a publication somewhere?
That was in the chat. That was the chat that popped up. That was under 14
I'm
feet of
looking it
water.
up.
Oh my lord! I know.
I
I'm
was
trying to
look it up,
find
but I
it.
couldn't hear you talk, Ryan or Zav or anybody when I started looking it up. I'm on a
I
phone.
don't see anything yet. So it must be. It could be true, but like it's not
Search for
public
missing
yet.
California teen Kiely Rodni leads to arrest of a sex offender.
So, here is the moment where Mr. Upchurch finds out that she has been recovered. So what does this nincompoop do? Well, let me show you what he does. He clearly types in Kylie's name and then announces the first title, which he thinks confirms his cockamamie conspiracy theory. And he jumps for joy in what he thinks is a gotcha moment. Only it's not. So what title does he read? Search for missing California teen Kiely Rodni leads to arrest of sex offender. So let's type that up on Google and see what Cornbread Boy actually found. Oh, look, here is a New York Post article with that same very title. Let's check it out and see if it confirms his conspiracy theory. I mean, heck, maybe he was right. Maybe all the people he accused of being guilty of murder and child trafficking, maybe they've even already been arrested. Only, nope. Look at the date. It was written a couple days before Kiely was found. This article is not about her being found at all. Well, so let's read it together. Let's see what it says. The exhaustive search for missing California teen Kiely Rodni led to the arrest of a sex offender on unrelated charges, authorities said. The arrest was made Thursday as police were conducting a sweep of sex offenders in Lake Tahoe region as part of their investigation into the missing person case that has gained national attention. The sex offender compliance checks resulted in several sex registrants being found in violations of their terms, the Placer County Sheriff's Office said Friday. One offender was arrested, and criminal charges were pending against another, according to officials. So, this had nothing to do with the Kiely Rodni case at all. Logic fail, Cornbread Boy. Put your panties back on. Your party plans just got canceled. So that's all I have for you this evening. I don't know what to say. This guy is so transparently insane and ignorant and arrogant and vindictive and malicious and so lacking in self-awareness. I mean, he's belligerent. I mean, this is the sort of guy you throw out of a bar because, I mean, nobody can have a pleasant evening because you have the lunatic drunk at the corner shrieking out his conspiracy theories about the Illuminati and the New World Order. I mean, this is world-class conspiracy theorist. This is world-class ignorance. I mean, this is somebody who, you know, should not be allowed on a bus. He shouldn't have a driver's license. I mean, and he has guns. He has AR-15s. This guy should be put on an FBI terror list. I mean, if he carries on with the size of his audience, I mean, if this is his new little hobby, is to intervene in the true crime space and become the ghetto lord, bad actor, with that size of an audience, he will certainly be getting someone killed, and he'll also be having, you know, as I've said many times, I'm always worried more about suicide, because with all the drama and all the infighting and all the attacks, the constant attacks that people are receiving on a daily basis, just an incessant, non-stopping bombardment of trolls and bullies and doxers and people basically putting a lot of pressure on someone's mental well-being. It's more likely that we'll have suicides from this, these interpersonal drama fests, these channels fighting and the mods fighting with each other and people switching sides and giving information behind the scenes and exposing someone's personal secrets, which then somebody uses on camera out of vengeance. This space really, the true crime ghetto really is putrid. And I guess, yeah, this was worthy of coming out of retirement because Ryan Upchurch is a scourge to YouTube and he's a scourge to civilization. And he's really a horrible person. Now, I don't know, maybe he has his better qualities and his better moments, but what I've seen is just atrocious. I mean, yeah, I'm just left speechless. I obviously could have captured some more video, could have gone into more depth as to why these arguments are so poor, why the logic is so poor, and why this is so immoral, what he's doing, and why he clearly doesn't have a spine, because he can't step down now and simply admit that he's made a fool out of himself. He has to save face in front of his audience. Sorry, this is my last clip. I actually lost my train of thought. It's late here. I've been working on this for a long time. So the last thing is, yeah, the other point is clearly that I hope he gets sued for defamation. There's no better example of defamation than falsely accusing someone of murder and child trafficking. I mean, it's the easiest case to make, but of course, not everybody has the will to go through that process or necessarily wants to incur the legal costs. This guy probably has deeper pockets. Obviously, better representation will minimize his liability, but nobody's above the law, right? So then just my last little point would be that the reason that it's not necessary to go into any further depth into the incoherence of these arguments or to continue to try to refute them point by point is simply that we always need to remember it's all about the burden of proof. And he is making the positive claims. We don't necessarily have any obligation to prove a negative or to refute each and every claim. He's the guy up there making a fool out of himself, making these bombastic, hyperbolic claims. All of the burden of proof is on him to provide actual empirical evidence, not bullshit, bad opinion and false pattern matching and every other sort of innuendo. He actually has to bring the goods. That's all that matters. And I'm not a betting man, but I'm pretty sure that if we go a few months into the future, the case will be resolved. He will be shown to have been wrong about everything. He likely will not apologize to anyone. And just like with all of the other true crime bad actors, whether it's Chris McDonough or Benny Keys or Doug Hutton or The Griff, these people they don't back down. They don't apologize. They don't admit that their predictions were wrong. And they don't even seem to see the harm in making these false allegations and false claims in front of large impressionable audiences. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I doubt I'll be making more on this fool, this muffin head, but maybe I will. We shall see if this pattern continues. And so, yeah, this is a Brand Avat signing off. Et à tout à l'heure. I'm just kidding. I have one last little clip to play for you, and then a final note afterwards.
I just wanted to say thank you for having me on the show. I cannot take any more of this verbal. I cannot take any more of this verbal abuse. Have a great
Crying is bullshit, lady. Shut up.
Well, then she. I mean, why she leave? That's kind of telling something.
Tony,
Yeah, that's
he knows, bro.
So here is the scene on Tony Dodge's show where Anna Mae finally succumbs to this insane emotional torture and politely thanks her host and then removes herself from the show while the belligerent muffin head continues to berate her, and again with absolutely no evidence. And this Tony guy then says, oh, well, why did she leave? I mean, that's not a good sign. Clear that's, again, some sort of consciousness of guilt, as opposed to simply being berated on your show for an extended period of time by a lunatic. And you enabled the whole thing. So, Tony Dodge, grow a spine. You're a sycophant little wussy boy kissing up to your host, hoping to grow your channel. You have no courage. You have no integrity. You can't stand up to Muffin Head because you're a chicken. You're as big a pussy as the Muffin Boy. And on that note, we're done.